You're watching Telecom TV from SCWS World here in London, and I'm joined now by Steve Dyett, who is Head of Global Wi-Fi Solutions at BT Global Services. Steve, good to see you again on Telecom TV. It seems like we're in a multiverse at the moment. We've got multi-technology, multi-standards, multi-spectrum. How does an operator cope?
It's on so many different levels. As you've just mentioned, you've got the domain structure, who's responsible for what, delivering what do you want to use it for, who owns the service, who owns the information that's coming from that service, who owns the end user device, who owns, how can that be changed between multiple service providers? Is it two service providers at the same time? It is a bit of a nightmare. It's certainly something that needs to be looked at. And maybe orchestrated in such a way, and maybe that's the end game, is that it's for one person to deliver that through whatever connectivity or architecture that's needed to be done, and of course get paid for doing so.
So is service orchestration an area that we're going to have to increasingly focus on?
I think so. I think certainly from the conference presentations I've seen at the moment, there is an awful lot on providing infrastructure and connectivity, but precious little about the service layer, right, and what that looks like. Much beyond traditional mobile operator type approaches for, well, we'll deliver this service and somebody can use it. I think it goes beyond that. I think it really does go beyond that, and you've got this, to embrace this true heterogeneous network. That can include ways of connecting that will come to the fore over the next 2 years or so.
Are we, in a sense, moving up the stack now from looking at small cells as a means to extend and expand network coverage to enabling new services and revenue streams?
There are many ways of skinning the same cat, as they say, right? And in filling with even small cells these days, considered to have Wi-Fi included. So, it is more than just. It's more than some people's views of what 5G is going to be. Because if 5G, as it said, is going to be 4G with go faster stripes on, then we've lost the issue, right? If 5G includes multiple networks with services that run across different connectivity at different values to what the end user or the end user service is going to look like, now that's getting a little bit more towards what it should be. And if it's always going to be about the fastest, quickest, low latency, and again we've missed the trick, because it's going to be about the value of what you're going to be sending, the event that you're going to be sending, the time, the priority, all these sort of things that need to be taken on board for that service layer.
So whilst we're talking about 5G, is the best strategy to wait until we've got all the standards and technologies sorted out so we can put it into commercial operation from 2020 onwards, or do we need to start implementing solutions now?
Again, this is just a reflection of what I see at this moment in time. And again, mentioned not an hour ago was the 5GPP approach. Now, I'm sure that's probably going to try and stay alongside on cellular. But, the opening statement from the Small Cells Forum was, 50% of all traffic's carried across Wi-Fi, indoors and outdoors. I'd love to have a view of what's carried across Zigbee or some of the other low-powered wireless technologies as well, and see where they would fit into the 5G world. And again, different vendors take different approaches on this. I have seen vendors look at the approach that says, if it's an IP network, we're going to be able to work with it, and we're going to be able to provide services that are greater than what they are today, and more comprehensive than what they are today. And I still think there's a big debate going on. As to your question, I think what's going to happen is there are going to be local pockets of innovation and discussion, and one would hope that they would start to come and coalesce together into a more industry-based vision of what's going to happen. But at the moment, you could line 100 people up and ask them what 5G is, and I probably think you'll probably get 100 different views on what it is.
So picking up on Wi-Fi, what I find interesting is that the ITU's IMT 2020 process is very cellular driven. 3GPP have got their timelines and timeframes sorted out for submission of standards. However, we're not hearing that much from the Wi-Fi advocates.
I do feel that there are developments within inside of the 802.11 standards that do, you know, they should demand, they should definitely require to be looked at in a holistic approach. I mean, again, the presentation yesterday had the new standards, you know, the ADs, the AXs, the AYs, which all look at high bandwidth, low range. But again, there are other ones as well. The in-car 11R or 11Q, 11R, I think. So how you communicate between autonomous vehicles and cars. There is a whole gamut of ranges of different technologies in Wi-Fi that are being developed. And at one level you can just treat it like another IP network. At another level you can start looking seriously about what's being deployed out there and how it's being deployed out there, and incorporate it into this proper het net, which is certainly a view I subscribe to, which is a network of things to deliver a service. And those things can be, like I said before, if it's appropriate, you use Wi-Fi or cellular. If it's appropriate, you use low-powered Wi-Fi, low-powered wireless.
That's a nice concept, the network of things.
It's appropriate networks for the appropriate use cases that you have. Like I said before, on telemetry, would you necessarily use cellular if you're talking about information from units deep within a building, right? Smart metering, for argument's sake. Again, in basements of somewhere, would you use something there, or would you just put even fixed line attached to that? Does the cost relevant want you to provide a fixed line service? And again, I think that's something that you need to look at. You need to look at what the cases are, what's the majority of those cases, and devise something accordingly.
Steve, thank you very much indeed.